others. I have.
Alberti permitted himself a sardonic laugh. Of course you'd say that, ever the innocent. How convenient for you. You surround yourself at Careggi with men most of the rest of us consider dangerous free thinkers. Ficino, Mirandola, and that creep Poliziano. But at least now we have had a chance to see how far your reach really extends, which is to say, nowhere at all in any practical terms. That has proved a valuable lesson for my allies and me. Yes, your allies the Pazzi. That's what this is really all about, isn't it? Alberti studied his fingernails elaborately before replying. I'd be careful what you say, Duce. You might attract the wrong sort of attention. But he didn't sound completely sure of himself. You are the one who should watch his mouth, Gonfaloniere, and I suggest you pass that advice on to your associates. Take it as a friendly warning. With that, Lorenzo swept away with his bodyguard in the direction of the cloister. After a moment, muttering some oath under his breath, Alberti followed. It almost sounded to Ezio as if the man were cursing himself. The cloisters themselves had been draped with cloth of gold for the occasion, which dazzlingly reflected the light from hundreds of candles. On a rostrum near the fountain in the center, a group of musicians played, and on another stood the bronze statue, a half-life-size figure of exquisite beauty. As Ezio entered, using columns and shadows to conceal himself, he could see Lorenzo complimenting the artist. Ezio also recognized the mysterious cowled figure who'd been on the execution platform with Alberti. Some distance away, Alberti himself stood surrounded by admiring members of the local nobility. From what he could hear, Ezio understood that they were congratulating the Gonfaloniere on ridding the city of the canker of the Auditore family. He had not thought that his father had so many enemies as well as friends in the city, but realized that they had only dared move against him when his principal ally Lorenzo had been absent. Ezio smiled as one noblewoman told Alberti that she hoped the Duke appreciated his integrity. It was clear that Alberti didn't like that suggestion one bit. Then he overheard more. What of the other son? A nobleman was asking. Ezio, wasn't it? Has he escaped for good? Alberti managed a smile. The boy poses no danger whatsoever. Soft hands and an even softer head. He'll be caught and executed before the week is out. The company around him laughed. So, what's next for you, Uberto? Asked another man. The chair of the Signoria, perhaps? Alberti spread his hands. It is as God wills. My only interest is to continue to serve Florence, faithfully and diligently. Well, whatever you choose, know that you have our support. That is most gratifying. We'll see what the future brings. Alberti beamed, but modestly. And now, my friends, I suggest that we put politics aside and give ourselves over to the enjoyment of this sublime work of art, so generously donated by the noble Medici. Ezio waited until Alberti's companions wandered away in the direction of the David. For his part, Alberti took a goblet of wine and surveyed the scene, a mixture of satisfaction and wariness in his eyes. Ezio knew that this was his opportunity. All other eyes were on the statue, near which Verrocchio was stumbling through a short speech. Ezio slipped up to Alberti's side. It must have stuck in your craw to pay that last compliment, Ezio hissed, but it's appropriate that you should be insincere to the end. Recognizing him, Alberti's eyes bulged in terror. You! Yes, Gonfaloniere, it's Ezio, here to avenge the murder of my father, your friend, and my innocent brothers. Alberti heard the dull click of a spring, a metallic sound, and saw the blade poised at his throat. Goodbye, Gonfaloniere, said Ezio. coldly. "Stop!" gasped Alberti. "In my position, you would have done the same to protect the ones you loved. Forgive me, Ezio. I had no choice." Ezio leaned close, ignoring his plea. He knew the man had had a choice, an honorable one, and had been too supine to make it. "Do you not think I am protecting the ones I love? What mercy would you show my mother or my sister if you could lay your hands on them? Now, where are the documents I gave you from my father? You must have them somewhere safe." "You'll never get them. I always carry them on my person." Alberti tried to push Ezio away and drew in a breath to call for the guards, but Ezio plunged the dagger into his throat and dragged its blade through the man's jugular artery. Unable now even to gurgle, Alberti sank to his knees, his hands instinctively clutching at his neck in a vain attempt to staunch the blood that cascaded down onto the grass. As he fell on his side, Ezio stooped swiftly and cut the man's wallet free of his belt. He glanced inside. Alberti, in his final hubris, had been telling the truth. The documents were indeed there. But now there was silence. Verroccio's speech had ground to a halt as the guests began to turn and stare, not yet comprehending what had happened. Ezio stood and faced them. "Yes, what you see is real. What you see is vengeance. The Auditore family still lives. I am still here. Ezio Auditore." He caught his breath at the same moment as a woman's voice rang out, "Assassino!" New chaos reigned. Lorenzo's bodyguard quickly formed up round him, swords drawn. The guests ran hither and yon, some trying to escape, the braver ones going through the motions at least of trying to seize Ezio, though none quite dared make a real attempt. Ezio noticed the cowled figure slipping away into the shadows. Verrocchio stood protectively by his statue. Women screamed, men shouted, and city guards streamed into the cloisters, unsure of whom to pursue. Ezio took advantage of this, climbing up to the roof of the cloister colonnade and vaulting over it into a courtyard beyond, whose open gate led into the square in front of the church, where a curious crowd was already gathering, attracted by the sound of the commotion within. "What's happening?" someone asked Ezio. "Justice has been done," Ezio replied, before racing northwest across town to the safety of Paola's mansion. He paused on the way to verify the contents of Alberti's wallet. At least the man's last words had been truthful. Everything was there. And there was something else. An undelivered letter in Alberti's hand. Perhaps fresh knowledge for Ezio, who broke the seal and tore the parchment open. But it was a personal note from Alberti to his wife. As he read it, Ezio could at least understand what kind of forces might be brought to bear to break a man's integrity. "My love, I put these thoughts to paper in the hope that I might one day have the courage to share them with you. In time, you'll no doubt learn that I betrayed Giovanni Auditore, labeled him a traitor, and sentenced him to die. History will likely judge this act to have been a matter of politics and greed, but you must understand that it was not fate that forced my hand, but fear. When the Medici robbed our family of all we owned, I found myself afraid. For you, for our son, for the future. What hope is there in this world for a man without proper means? As for the others, they offered me money, land, and title in exchange for my collaboration. And this is how I came to betray my closest friend. However unspeakable the act, it seemed necessary at the time. And even now, looking back, I can see no other way." Ezio folded the letter carefully and replaced it in his wallet. He would reseal it and see that it was delivered. He was determined not to stoop to mean-spiritedness. Ever. 6. "It's done," he told Paola, simply. She embraced him briefly, then stood back. "I know. I am glad to see you safe. I think it's time for me to leave Florence." "Where will you go?" My father's brother Mario has an estate near Monteriggioni. We'll go there. There's a huge hunt on for you already, Ezio. They are putting up wanted posters everywhere with your picture on them, and the public orators are beginning to speak against you. She paused thoughtfully. I'll get some of my people to go out and tear down as many posters as they can, and the orators can be bribed to speak of other things. Another thought struck her. And I'd better have travel papers drawn up for the three of you. Ezio shook his head, thinking of Alberti. What is this world we live in, where belief can so easily be manipulated? Alberti was placed in what he saw was an impossible position, but he should have held firm against it. She sighed. Truth is traded every day. It's something you'll have to get used to, Ezio. He took his hands in hers. Thank you. Florence will be a better place now, especially if Duke Lorenzo can get one of his own men elected gonfaloniere. But now, there is no time to waste. Your mother and sister are here. She turned and clapped her hands. Annetta!
Please, don't kill me.
Annetta emerged from the back of the house, bringing Maria and Claudia with her. It was an emotional reunion. Ezio saw that his mother was not